Hello and welcome to this demonstration of a new WordPad 2 student response system. The WordPad 2s differ from other student response systems in two key ways. First of all, obviously I've got a colour screen, quite a keyboard, but also within the WordWall software they allow a way of students interacting with a whole range of activities rather than just multiple choice tests, as is the case with most other voting systems. So I'm going to show you some of the different activities that you can use, including some activities that we created in the first video where we looked at the WordWall software. Now what you do first of all is you place a USB stick, which is a receiver, into your computer, and this brings up the class record here. Students then press a key on their handset, and that handset then is assigned a chip up on the screen, so we see 1 and 2 and 3 appearing on our screen like so. Students can then enter in their names. So I'm going to enter in a few names here, and once they've entered in their names, press the blue send key in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and that name then appears up on the interactive whiteboard. Okay, so there we've got some names in. Now, once we've chosen our activity, perhaps the sentence maker that we created in the first video, we can then choose what sort of game we want to run on it. So I go to the start key there, and I could decide, say, to run a private poll activity. So rather than writing, a multiple choice test, I could simply ask a question of the keywords that we've got on the board. And I might ask my class, for example, I don't know, which one of these words is an anagram of a season? And they might vote like so, and as they vote their chips fly across the screen to indicate that they've voted. And if we click on the change display key here, we can first of all see how many people voted for each tile, so we can see one person voted for J, one for K and one for N, or we could click once again to see who voted for them. So I can go down here and I can see Andy went for temperate, I can see Tom went for compare, and I can see Josh went for summers, the correct answer. So then what happens is this data is then stored into our class record showing the results we've given, and this class record tracks the results throughout our class, or indeed throughout the school year. So that's one type of activity we could use. Let's see another one here. If I go up here, we could perhaps say load up a resource from the activity bank which has some pictures of some flags. Now rather than simply voting, lettering the tiles up, A, B, C, D or whatever, we could use something a bit more interesting here, which are these joypad controls. Now the way the joypad controls work is in the bottom right hand corner of your handset you have these kind of up, down, left, right keys, and you can press the right hand key to bring your chip out onto the board, and then use up, down, left, right to move around. I might ask students, say, to get into pairs or into groups of 3 to work on a particular country, like so. And then I could see which country they have kind of landed on there. So I can see Andy, Tom and Josh are working on Italy. So that's one way that we could use this. Another thing we could do is we could have students kind of navigate around the board, identifying which the countries which each image corresponds to. So for example, if Josh over here moves to this flag and types in France on his handset and then presses the blue submit key in the bottom left hand corner, he will get a point for identifying the tile, and the tile will flip over. Could then move around the board answering these questions. Number 1 there, got that wrong. They typed in Germany when they should have said Belgium, and they got a kind of red cross on their screen. So you kind of navigate around the board, and for each tile that's flipped over you get a point. You can only answer the blue tiles essentially. So then let's see them answer just a few more here. So we can see Andy is racking up the points pretty quickly. And then when the game's finished, hopefully all of the tiles will be flipped over, the game will end. We won't do that here, but then we can go here to the handsets and then to class record, to leaderboard, and we can see how our class performed. And we can see there's Andy in first place with 3 points. So that's one way that we could use this. What else could we do? Another thing we could do is say a multiple choice test, as a lot of other student response systems do. So if I went to the activity bank again and I looked for a quiz on Islam, I could type in Islam quiz and we could then load up a suitable multiple choice test. Now one way that we could do this is we could simply do it through the whiteboard screen. So all 30 students would answer question 1, and then the teacher would flick it to question 2, and then all 30 students would answer question 2, we move to question 3, and all 30 students, and so on and so forth. Now the problem with that approach is it can be very time consuming, because probably a large proportion of your class is going to know the answer to a question just like that, but some students are going to need to think a bit about the answer, aren't necessarily going to feel confident, and they're going to take a while. And you do an 8-question test like this, it could take the best part of half an hour. A much quicker and easier way to do it is to use this thing called the self-paced test. And the way this works is the questions appear then on the handset screen, where the students can navigate through at their own pace. So they use the blue left and right keys to move through the questions. They move down, selecting the answers in orange, and then press the blue select key in the bottom left-hand corner to select the answer they wish to give. So I'm going to select a few of those. Okay, and then I'm going to do that here as well on another handset. Okay, so we've given a few answers there. And then when we're done, we can, if we wanted to, we could set a timer up on the board to indicate how much time people have left to answer the questions. But we won't bother with that. We'll go straight into the handsets and go to analysis, and then we can see what answers were given to the questions. So we can see one of our 3 participants got the correct answer there, Hafiz, and then we can press the right hand key to move on through the rest of the test. We can also select different graph types if we like. So it's very easy to review the results on the student's own handset. It shows a graph showing their own performance as well, so they get personalised feedback. There are also a range of different kind of data outputs that you can kind of select from up there, so you can see the summary view, or by student, or by question. Okay, so that's a multiple choice test. The final kind of activity sequence I want to show you is really, I think, the best way that these handsets can be used, and this is to allow the teacher to collect text input from students in their class. Why is this really powerful? Well, if you ask a class a question, maybe I know a majority of children at some point will put up their hand and speak out, but there's always a kind of a proportion of children who you'll never hear a squeak out of for the whole school year. The great thing about this is every single student is expected to contribute something qualitative, an idea, and they can do so without fear of kind of persecution from their peers, because it's up to the teacher whether they reveal who said what. So it's really, really good, basically. What you do is you simply go up to Game Selector and select the text game, and I could then ask a class question. I know what's your New Year's resolution, and people can then type in what their New Year's resolution is, and press the blue submit key in the bottom left hand corner. And what then happens is the chip flies across the screen as they have typed in their ideas. So what I'm going to do now is I can look in the text bank, and we can see some of the ideas that have gone in. So we can see that going on holiday was suggested as an idea. I can see that buying a new car was suggested as another idea. And also, say, giving to charity. So we've got all of these, a few different ideas that have been dragged into our board, and we could discuss them, and we could, if we wanted to, say who they came from. But then what I can do is I can take these ideas, and using the convert tool, which we saw in the first video, we can take this and we could turn it into, say, a crossword. Oh, sorry, not a crossword. An opinion exercise. So I go to convert and I select on opinion, and I can say whether we like or dislike these ideas, and then they're put in another format, and we can go up there and we can then say, use private poll to vote on what we think. So we look on our handset now, and what you can see is you've got the title there, Give to Charity. If you like that as an idea, you can move it to the left. If you dislike it as an idea, you can move it to the right. And then you press the blue next key in the bottom right hand corner to move on to the next idea. So we go through and we rate some of those ideas. So let me just do that on these handsets here. And what we can then do is we can reveal what people thought of them. So if we click on one of these ideas, buying a new car, we can see that as an idea that one person strongly liked, another person strongly disliked. And then we can look and we can see who held those points of view. So I can see Tom really liked the idea of buying a new car, Josh really hated the idea. So we could get those people into, I don't know, they could, explain their kind of answer to the class, or we could get them into pairs, so people could get into pairs on different keywords, and then they could have a discussion about why they've held a particular point of view, and then you could rerun this vote and you can see how people's opinions have changed. So the idea of the WordPad 2s is it allows every student to have a voice in the classroom to get their point of view across. You can play a variety of interesting different games, but you can also use it to do those higher order skills of evaluating and categorizing and stimulating class discussion. And also WordWall provides a really easy way of tracking student performance and their contributions through the class record as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation of the WordPad 2s. If you'd like to find out more, visit our website wordwall.co.uk.